I set up MumsAid because there was just such a dearth of services and provision for mums who were struggling after they'd had a baby. And I had already been trying to provide that service for mums for about 12 years before I set MumsAid up. Firstly at Mind, where I set up the first group there when I went back after my maternity leave in 1999. Can you believe? Going back a long time now. And then I'd run a parenting project for the Tavistock for a couple of years. But when the funding for that ended, they'd offered me to do something in another borough. But I knew that that would mean that there was just nothing for women in Greenwich. When I say there was nothing, there was nothing. Greenwich was the last borough in London to even have a perinatal mental health strategy. And that came online years after I'd set MumsAid up. So I thought, no, we need something for women in Greenwich. So that was why I set around trying to set up MumsAid. And it had very small and humble roots to begin with, just myself and a couple of volunteer therapists. But that was in 2012. And yeah, we've now grown to sort of quite a substantial service. I think we've got 13 staff and about 13 or 14 volunteer therapists. Part of why I sort of wanted to set up MumsAid was to raise awareness, because I really knew that so many women were not coming forward for help. There was a real kind of stigma. There was a stigma around mental health generally, but very specifically, there was a stigma around perinatal mental health. And I knew that in order to kind of do that effectively, I had to have an organisation. It was no good it kind of just being Miriam Donahy's voice kind of saying, hey, people, don't worry about stigma. So that was why I kind of wanted to set up an organisation that would really just try to normalise the fact that women struggle, after having a baby, and to give support that would be a non-medical model, that was not pathologising, that wasn't, that was understanding why women were struggling, and saying it's okay to like be finding it hard. Why wouldn't you be finding it hard? It's very understandable to find this hard. Well, the original vision was to just provide a good quality service, and as I had already been providing support services for new mums for 12 years, I had already come to some sort of quite strong conclusions about what I felt was effective and would make good therapy, and the approach that I wanted to use. So my vision was really that I would provide a service that was accessible and that effective. And I've kind of, what I said to lots of people, that it was voluntary but not amateur. It was really important that it was professional in how it was run. I think one of the main kind of one of the sort of key driving force at the moment is sustainability, because in the sort of current climate where funding is such an issue for everybody, and central government funding is being cut, local funding is being cut, we need to kind of be sustainable in order that we can keep on providing services for mums. So first and foremost, it is about making sure that MumsAid is sustainable to keep on doing what it's doing and what it has done well. And then beyond that, we have got we would love to be able to provide what we do and what we know has worked so well for so many mums in Greenwich, to extend that. And so we use a model called STARK, which is kind of what I've developed based on my learning over the last sort of 25 years now. And the plan is hopefully to be able to kind of roll that model out, to train other people in the model, so that good quality provision is available for mums wherever they live. Well, I think this is something that we are very good at, because it is kind of is sort of key to kind of what we do and what we want to do. And firstly, what we sort of hope to do is to make sure that our services are accessible to people, because if they can't reach us, then, you know, we can't walk with them. So accessibility is really important, and by that I mean that we remove barriers for them to come into the service, so women can self-refer. We don't insist on a diagnosis. We're happy for them to just for themselves to believe that they're struggling. That's all it is. We don't need them to come with a diagnosis from a GP saying they've got postnatal depression. And then we try and remove other barriers to them coming into the service. So we will call them and really check out what their needs are, where they live, kind of do they have transport, or will they need to use buses? Are there other children? You know, how can we kind of really make the service fit in with their current life and needs? And try, because we offer MumsAid around the borough in a few different locations, we will try and make sure that they've got a service as close to them as it's possible for us to offer it. So yeah, I think accessibility is really important. And then I think also making sure that the service kind of fits their needs. Yeah, so it's not a one-size-fits-all service. It's very much tailored to the needs of that particular mum. And so, for example, a woman who's had a traumatic birth, who might have PTSD symptoms, will have very different needs to a woman who has been left by her partner or is really struggling because she's got no family support, or a woman who's having struggled to bond with her baby. So we really kind of think about, what does this mum need? What will be most effective? And that is kind of how the therapy is shaped to the mum. So yeah, I think those are kind of the main ways in which we make sure that our service walks alongside women. Well, I think the voluntary sector is just really good at being innovative, you know, in identifying gaps in provision and finding a way to fill the gap. And yeah, at MumsAid, we've shown how to do that with our young mum service, with our Mighty Acorns service for mums with disability, who've got a baby born with disability or a complex medical condition. So unlike kind of bigger statutory organisations, we're able to be agile, move quickly, see a gap, and then think, how can we meet that need? So I think, yeah, innovative provision is definitely a really key way that the voluntary sector can play a part in perinatal services. But I think also the NHS at the moment is just really, really struggling to meet women. The threshold for accessing a service in the NHS is very, very high. There are women on waiting lists for months only to find that actually they don't meet the threshold. So we are able to provide a service for those women as well. And then thirdly, I'd say that also we're able to be a service for those women who, for some reason or another, have a distrust of statutory services or of the NHS, and they'll be more open to seeking support with us. Yeah, absolutely. So in Greenwich, definitely have to mention Greenwich Home Start, who have been a partner of ours for many years, and as well as supporting our work by providing us spaces in children's centres, they've also had their own Start for Life programme and, you know, provide excellent support for mums. And then there's also the Motivational Mums Club, run by Chrissy Brown, which again is doing fantastic work. And then nationally, like there are some really amazing organisations. I think some of the ones that are focused on more kind of specialist or niche areas are kind of important to mention because not everybody's aware of them. So one that I've become kind of more aware of recently, just like through following them on social media and seeing kind of the real impact they're making, and they had a great awareness week recently, was hyperemesis support. I think actually they're called pregnancy support service, but they support women who've got hyperemesis, which is the most extreme form of morning sickness. And then there's another great charity called Petals. That's again a small charity, but supports women who've had experienced loss, baby loss. Dandelion military families who support military families who may have parental mental health. And then there's another new CIC called Neonatal, who support new mums who are neurodivergent. So those are kind of slightly more niche groups, but I think they're doing great work.